welcome to a very exciting folder that I'm really glad that I've finally gotten to here for my True Fire channel, and I'm going to be sharing this also with my YouTube subscribers. So basically what we're winding up doing in this folder, as we've done in some other folders on my True Fire channel, is we're going to be highlighting specific players and specific techniques and things that basically are the unique stylings of those players, which really give them their uniqueness and the reason why they stand out. For example, we've already done Roy Buchanan, and we emphasized a lot of chordal ideas in the way that he used specific things on Hey Good Looking. Danny Gatton's a unique character, that's for sure. He's one of my favorite guitar players of all time. A telly master in every regard. He can throw the kitchen sink at you in rockabilly, blues, lots of jazz ideas, country picking, chicken picking, pedal steel bends, slide. He was a master instrumentalist, just one of my favorite guitar players, without a doubt. So this is going to be definitely an in-depth folder, and this is just going to be the first of many videos that kind of highlight a style, a specific style that he kind of uses. And the idea is that you can kind of use these ideas that I'm giving you to influence your own playing or add to your own playing, because there's so much that a lot of these players offer. I kind of figured instead of just do one small little lick in this entry level or in this first video I'm doing, I kind of wanted to do something that, like, what would be Danny Gatton if it was just like a blues type of progression. And I tried to come up with something that was a little bit similar to some of the stylings of the licks that he winds up doing. So you got double stops, you've got pedal tones right off the bat with the rhythm that we have going, with just kind of a and the cool thing is he could take this rhythm and make it have a straight groove over it, and just he was just a master at the pedal tone stuff. That's why I kicked it off like that. So we'll break down the entire thing that I played, but I figure playing it in the front end would be a little bit better. That way you can kind of hear as far as what my example would wind up being. I kind of want to talk a little bit more in depth about what Danny has just kind of meant to me, and what you're going to kind of get in a lot of these. What you're going to get as far as this progression is just a simple blues progression, but he does so many different things. We started off with a pedal tone, just a bass, and he's playing off of that. So he's doing basically double stops or thirds, or moving them up somehow, up and down, doing some bending. Then we get into some chordal type of things that he's doing, all with this bass really emphasized, or at least basically used in between some of the things that you're doing. We do a triplet kind of walk-up pattern. We do a banjo roll. We do almost some Travis style picking, which we haven't talked about much at all on this channel, just because it's so involved. But we have to, as Danny, that was a huge part of his playing. And then also I kind of threw in a couple of jazz chords at the end. So this would be something if somebody would say, write something that's, you know, an intermediate level, that's of a Danny Gatton style, and use some of the things that he has. Well, we're going to break down a ton of other different things that he winds up doing, but I figured I'd throw quite a bit of them in the first one just to grab your attention, and hopefully it has. So as far as the way that I'm kind of going to construct this stuff, as far as this my channel goes for True Fire, is really on a lot of these things we're really going to be focused on one thing, whereas there's several different concepts covered. So the one thing that I also want to do is, due to like copyright and the fact that I don't want to just be copying pages out of a book. You can see behind me right here, I mean, I've got tons of books, which are great resources. They're great references. They give credit to the author of the songs, or whoever has written the stuff. They actually get compensated for it. So if you want to do this, do yourself a huge favor. This isn't some sort of selling point, because I get no kickbacks off the book, but get yourself this right off the bat. Okay, this is Danny Gatton's 88 Elmira Street. It was released as far as the year goes, 92, and it's by Hal Leonard. Okay, it's basically all the stuff from 88 Elmira Street. There is literally an encyclopedia of knowledge in these 89 pages. Okay, so some of the pedal tone licks you're going to hear in there, some of the double stops, There's just so much good stuff in there, and I'll actually be taking some examples from here that we can break apart. But just do yourself a favor and get this, because it's really going to help you out. Just check that out right there, because that's going to have everything notated. And what we're doing is we're more or less trying to take those ideas and trying to see, like, well, how can we do that to change our playing or influence our playing or make our playing better? What did he really do? How was he able to get this kind of stuff? There's so much going on with the right hand and the left hand, especially with those, I would call them compound hybrid picking things, where you're not doing it on adjacent strings, the banjo rolls, and he was the master of putting it all together. Even Chet Atkins said the same. So, and basically what we're going to wind up doing is I'm going to show you as far as how I kind of constructed this, some of the techniques that are used. We're going to do other things as well. The one thing is, on a lot of this, is if you want to know exactly what's going on, I understand there's a ton of resources. I mean, some of the stuff that I do, I wind up putting up on YouTube, but I would also check out the Hot Licks as well, the DVD, or at that time, the VHS. You're going to have to tune to it because he's a little, not quite 440. But you've got a lot of resources. The one thing is the book is normally going to be, it's normally heavily edited, so it's going to be precise. It's going to be one of your best bets. What we're doing in this folder and for my channel, and what I'd like to impart on you, is let's take some of those ideas and deconstruct them and then construct new things with them. So right off the bat, let's get to this playing. So as far as the beginning, I give you something like this. So you're feeling that type of rhythm right there, and you can do it with the pick. And then what you're going to be doing on the higher notes is you're going to be playing the notes, and then you're going to be doing the lower string. Okay, so you've got something like this. Okay, so all we're doing is we're taking thirds and we're chromatically moving them up. Without going too much in depth, I'm going to provide the tab. I pretty much think that for the most part, you should be able to read most of these. I'll talk about a couple of different fingerings. What we're working on is the conceptual ideas, okay? So you got... Okay, the one thing with this is you're able to basically comp for yourself, which is a great way of playing bass lines, or if you're doing Travis style picking or finger picking in general. Okay, and now we're at the second stanza. Okay, so when we wind up doing that, the only kind of weird thing that you're going to wind up doing there, let's change this here, is you're just going to have this type of shape. So it's 7 and 9. So you got it. So that's going to be what's happening over E. Now we're moving to the A chord. Okay, so you're just taking these thirds and you're moving them around, which is something he did brilliantly, and it works. And when you wind up using that pedal tone of an open string, typically, you're able to get kind of basically a bass and then some sort of melody or harmony to that melody. So now we're on the 4 chord, or the A chord, because this is basically an E blues pattern. Okay, so on that, we actually start with 2 notes pretty much all the way through E with a little bit of a bend. Then what we wind up doing is we're going to be doing thirds. We're basically walking thirds up. Now we go to 3-note chords. That's another thing, is you get these kind of, I would call them slash chords, where you get, so it's actually a G chord with an A in the bass because you're playing that pedal tone. Okay, now here's another really cool technique, is what you're going to wind up doing is you're going to be doing triplets, and you're going to be breaking up chords and doing basically a walk up. And the walk up that I've selected for this is you're going to start with E. Okay, so E, F sharp, G, G sharp is what you're doing in the bass, and then you're just adding these notes. So it's another kind of blues walk up, okay? So, and you can do them in triplets, would be. So middle ring after the pick there. Banjo roll, and I would use my index and middle finger here. So pick. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing there. We're now at the second stanza on page 2. So what you're doing there is you're really emphasizing a B chord, a sharp 9 is that note there, what you're using. So that you're playing that top note G, and then kind of, and you can use your pinky for the top note, and then your ring finger to do that. And now we're still using double stops, but we're using fourths, which is another kind of double stop. It's just a different interval, but he uses those a ton all over the place. So why I wanted to change things up, because we've already done a lot of thirds. That one's a pretty easy one. Chromatically, once again, from half a step, just with your index finger. Now we're doing that compound thing again with triplets, and we're doing another type of walk up, but using some open strings as well. So you're alternating. That's going to be what the high note is, what you're doing. Your bass, your middle note. Now, here's another thing that he winds up doing, is he walks it down. So what's happening there is, once again, we're doing that compound hybrid here, and we're working our way down. You got E note, E note, B note, B note. That's pretty important, because I wanted certain notes to kind of ring out within this type of structure. So it's just follow the pattern here, and also it's going to be 12 and 13, so middle and then ring finger. Now what we wind up doing is we're going to be doing both on the same fret, 9th fret, and also on the B string for your high string. And then you're going to end with a B7, and then we just got a cool little jazz chord here. All these are going to be in the style of Danny Gatton, and there's going to be so much more to cover, but I kind of figured this is a nice little progression thing. It's something where basically you can accompany yourself with those bass notes. That's the kind of hip part about that he did all the time. We're going to get to so many other different things, but I felt this kind of encapsulated several different licks as opposed to just showing you one little thing. We'll start to deconstruct other ideas as well, but in the whole, I figured that this would be really cool to introduce you to one of my favorite guitar players of all time, Danny Gatton, and I really hope you enjoy this folder and this video. Make sure to check out the tab for that as well, and just make sure that that you've got a flow to it, that you can hear the changes, that your fingerings are, that you're not stumbling over your fingerings. Really cool lines right there, and hope you dug that, because we got a lot more to come for the Danny Gatton in the style of folder.